So all six of them that I have, I did different like color matching on it.
The velvet is so good.
Yeah. So they all have velvet. They're all the same size, and they all. So when you see them, like the Sleepwalker has green, like a dark green to match it, green purple.
Where's your frame? What does this cost to frame?
It's like $600 per.
I went all the way to Orlando, and all I have to show for it is this lousy Darkhawk card. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swagglehus, and in this one, I have returned. Unfortunately, not with any original art, but I have returned with knowledge and memories and experiences and insider information that I want to share with you guys here today. Now, I apologize. I said in my last video that maybe I would be able to do another day 2 vlog, and I fully intended to do that, but it's sort of hard to film and like do the walking talking vlog and then worry about posting it and all those things while also staying present at the show. So I'm going to do something a little bit different in this video here today. I did record a bunch of footage and I want to kind of play it for you guys and show you what I learned and some of the things that I saw. But I'm going to do a little bit more of a commentary and kind of a review of some of the event overall and talk about, you know, some of the cool things that I learned at the show. This is not necessarily a cool thing I learned, but it's the one takeaway I actually had, which is the Marvel Masterpieces 2024 edition, the Darkhawk card. I'm number 90 of 100. If you guys can see that little mark right there. So pretty cool. The Joe Jusko art from the Marvel Masterpieces from 1992, reprinted in collectible form for these new card sets. So I was happy to pick that one up. And I guess that's where I'll start with this video because the Joe Jusko Marvel Masterpiece art seemed to be one of the hot items at the show. I actually got to watch firsthand Dinesh make a big multi-$1,000 deal. And I want to talk about it with you guys here today and also do a cool giveaway from Dinesh and Bad Idea himself. I got the Hero Trade written by Matt Kint, the complete hardcover. Stay tuned to find out how you can actually win this at the end of the video. Now there I was, a fly on the wall, taking it all in at OAX. And we were over in the Marvel card area. And one of the things that a lot of people were talking about was how, you know, I think a lot of the art people are starting to look over to that Marvel card art market and getting more and more interested in the space. And we all kind of remember, you know, the Series 1 cards and the Series 2 cards and the Marvel Masterpieces done by Joe Jusko from back in the day. That art is, you know, starting to get a lot more attention. You know, a lot of people are very interested in it. And Steve from the Lakeview collection actually had in his possession multiple pieces from that set, as well as some of the other pieces that Jusko did for the Marvel Masterpieces 2016 set. Now, if you guys don't know about that whole story, definitely hop on over to the Spidey Hits channel where Steve actually talks about how he was able to acquire the entire collection for $2 million with Steve Aoki and a bunch of friends. But suffice to say, he got his hands on all of the original card art and brought a few of those pieces to actually sell. So that kind of started the transaction, started the engagement, and it was incredible to watch it in action. I wish I actually was able to film this one part, but you know, I wanted to be respectful of those guys as they're, you know, engaging in a transaction. So I actually filmed after the fact. But you know, Dinesh actually went up to Steve and was just like, hey, you know, you have those Marvel Masterpiece cards in the art gallery. Would you be willing to let them go? And he responded with, yeah, depending on the price, and that he's actually in possession of multiple of that 1992 set. And I kind of want to actually show you guys the cards that he has, just so you guys can get a visualization. Strong Guy, the first one that Dinesh was actually able to acquire. The second one here, Mr. Sinister, he was unwilling to sell this one at first, but getting ahead of myself, Dinesh did actually acquire this one, and I'll get to that in a second. He also mentioned that he has the Sleepwalker card as well, a really, really cool one. He mentioned he also has the Jubilee. This is one of the cards that didn't actually make the cut in that set. And then he had this Electra one that he was unwilling to let go as well, and this Apocalypse one that he said that he was unwilling to let go. But that didn't stop Dinesh. He was very, very adamant. The first thing that he said was he would be willing to sell the Strong Guy for $20,000. He would also be willing to let go of the Sleepwalker card for $15,000. And the Jubilee one for $15,000 as well. So Dinesh was very quick to say, I'll take Strong Guy for $20,000. And he said, you'll do Sleepwalker for $15,000? Okay, I'll do that one too. And Jubilee, I'll take all of them. And then Dinesh was very, very aggressive. And this was actually so interesting, you know, to watch this go down. He was basically like, would you let go of the other ones? I'll keep going. He was very, very adamant about it. And that's kind of one of the things that I sort of took in from kind of how the art trading goes. I think with comic books, it's a little bit more of a song and dance, and you can kind of like nickel and dime your way into things because there's many more comic books out there. There's other dealers, there's other places you can go. But if you want this particular art piece, there's only one seller. There's only one item. So as soon as, a seller kind of allows you to make an offer, you have to be able to jump on it. And you have to be able to, carpe diem and seize the moment. So here he sees an opportunity, and Dinesh was not going to give that up. Eventually, Steve came back around and said, you know what, I'll be willing to let go of the Mr. Sinister right now as well, because it's at the show. If you actually really want it, I'll give it to you for $22,000. And Dinesh, like that, boom. So just like that, he acquired 4 pieces right away from the set, already totaling $72,000, for the 4. And then, now he has this relationship with Steve where if Steve does eventually want to let go of the Electro or does eventually want to let go of the Apocalypse, now they have that relationship. Very interesting to see that, the aggression that's kind of required for the art sales. Once somebody allows you the opportunity to take the piece, you have to do it. Don't let them overthink it. Don't let them counter, let them realize that it is a gift horse in the mouth and they should actually just take the deal. And that overall is one of the cool stories and cool things that I got to see happen at the show. Now, kind of moving on to some other like takeaways and interesting thoughts, I wanted to speak a little bit more about the crossover of the Marvel card art and the crossover of even Magic the Gathering. Because actually, one of the nights, speaking of Steve and Dinesh and some of the people in the Marvel card community, Steve actually orchestrated a Magic the Gathering play night. He's actually a big fan of the Magic the Gathering art and the cards and everything, and kind of brought everyone together, to kind of nerd it up. And I think I personally take a lot of this stuff for granted where, for me, I like comic books, I like video games, I like Magic the Gathering. I like basically anything that ends up in an LCS or an LGS, the combination of the two. But for a lot of people, this was their first time being introduced to it, and you start to see a lot of crossover. Now, I bring this up because in the past, I've made videos talking about how Magic is finally doing a collaboration with Marvel, and some of those Marvel card art pieces sold upwards of like $50,000, $40,000 for the Wolverine and Captain America and things of that nature. And as soon as these cards come out, which I believe they're going to come out either later this year or early next year, I do think that a lot of those Marvel art pieces are going to sell for significant amounts of money. And we're already sort of seeing, the art community making its way over to Marvel cards and respect Marvel card art and pay a lot of attention to it. I personally think that a lot of Marvel card collectors are going to make their way over to Magic the Gathering cards when these sets come out, and they're going to start, buying those things up and wanting to collect them. And even for me, as somebody who has been a fan of Magic the Gathering and is also a fan of Marvel cards, I really do think that, in a lot of ways, these are going to be the most, canon as far as the official published artwork that people want to collect. To me, this is the difference of actually getting a published comic book page versus like a really cool piece of Marvel key art. I think the Marvel cards are great. They have wonderful art that is painted sort of in a vacuum specifically for the card. But the fact that this is painted for the game, and there's going to be people who are fans of the game, playing the game, collecting the cards that are just Magic fans, and then you couple that with the Marvel card people coming in and the art collectors coming in as well, I think that set's going to be really, really popular. And I did kind of passively mention in my last vlog video where I thought to myself, could it ever really be possible that Marvel cards would become more popular than comic books? I don't necessarily know, if that would ever be the case, but it does sort of make me wonder. And I think when you look to Pokemon and you think about PSA coming into the market and you think about that collab with Magic the Gathering, coming into the space, I don't know. Things I personally believe are looking up for Marvel cards as a whole and the art as well. Oh, one other thing that I want to share with you guys that is a total flex, like the craziest thing I've ever seen, is that Steve, shout out to him once again, he brought 4 decks of Magic the Gathering alpha cards that he constructed to literally be played with. Now, if you're not somebody who understands like Magic the Gathering Alpha, or guys don't know what that is, that's the original Magic the Gathering card set. And those cards are some of the most expensive cards in the world. And he just constructed this deck and we were just playing with them. They were sleeved, so it was totally okay. But at the same time, I mean, there's, a $50,000, Black Lotus on the table, 2 of them, and they're just, shuffling them around. What an ultimate flex. But that was actually a really fun thing to see. I think there's probably, over 6 figures on the table with some of those cards. But yeah, only at OAX would you ever really have that experience or ever feel comfortable handling those types of cards in such a way. I mean, that's like the equivalent of just deciding to open up your Action Comics 1 and be like, yeah, I'm just going to read it. A beer in hand and Action Comics number 1. Let me just flip through it and read it. Like that's what that was right there, which was totally wild to me. But, part of the fun of the whole experience. Now, kind of skipping ahead and moving along to back issue art, it is interesting to see how there's different collector bases at this show. I mean, there are people that are just there, for the vintage pages. There are people that are just there to get autographs from their favorite artists. There are people that are into, modern art collecting. So just like in comic books, there are different silos and different pools of types of collectors. And it's really funny for me to see how old school dealers are much the same like in comic books. You got your guys that only sell Silver Age and Bronze Age, and that's what they do. And then you got your guys that, mostly do modern age. And typically speaking, the Silver and Bronze Age guy are like, the modern art, it's not worth anything. And it's just funny how that manifests, But to me, I actually think that where I'm not necessarily a big modern collector, I'm not necessarily super into variants, I am very much more into the modern art because that feels alive. That feels like something that people are actually doing right now. I'm very much a proponent of supporting the current artists. And while I do think it would be awesome to own, some old school Jack Kirby pages and things of that nature, I personally just get a little more excited for the modern art, even though that's not my feeling when it comes to collecting the comic books themselves. Now, another highlight for me at the show was actually going back into the galleries and spending time with some of that artwork and getting a chance to really take it in. And actually in my last video, when I was doing the vlog, there was the guy that came up to me and was telling me to go check out his art pages that he actually owned. And I actually finally got to go over there and check them out. Some of the original appearances of Joe Louis in comic book form, I believe he made mention to me that this was the first time an African-American was depicted in a comic book. So that was really cool to see. You had the first panels of Luke Cage, there at the show. You had the classic J. Scott Campbell art with Black Panther and Storm on it. You had some other great Storm pieces. So there was a whole section that was kind of dedicated to, African-American history within comic books. And I got to hear a really great story about, the ASM 51.
Oh, so it didn't work. But this one it actually fit in. That's why it's in there. But I want to show you this when you get a second. So this is, and I'll tell you too, man. It's a pretty crazy story. This is ASM 50's first Kingpin. And this is the ASM 51 issue after. But this is the first Robbie Robertson from the Bugle.
Oh, nice.
This is the first panel he ever shows up in. They didn't know if he was going to be black or not. They decided later. They drew over his face white, drew a black guy, and then the note here to the colorist says Negro to appear in later books. So color him differently than.
That's pretty crazy.
Isn't that pretty crazy? I mean, this little panel is pretty nuts, man. Like, that's Robbie's first ever image, and there's a note here to the colorist about coloring him because he's a Negro.
I mean, that's like historic.
That's crazy, right?
Then I got to hop over to a panel that was led by Spidey Hits, where Julie Bell was talking about her experience doing the Marvel Masterpiece artwork. You had David Palumbo as well, and Dan Dos Santos, other guys who have done Marvel Masterpiece artwork, kind of doing this panel and talking about their experience. So it was really cool to just sort of hear their firsthand accounts of what doing those card sets entails, the amount of work that it takes, how long it takes for them to actually do some of the pieces, and then just like the little, individual stories that they had when doing a certain particular painting or a particular character that they really, really love. So a really fun experience overall. I got to learn a lot. I got to hang out with some other great content creators. Shout out to West Coast Avengers. We got to hang out a lot. I actually got to go to a couple comic book shops. I'm looking forward to my cameo on his YouTube channel. Looking forward to my cameo on the Spidey Hits YouTube channel. Definitely go check out their channels as well. Look for their content when it actually comes out. And OAX, day number 2 was a great time. I think even though I didn't necessarily come home with any particular art pieces, I walked away with a lot of insight a lot of understanding of this this world, this market, and it's given me a lot of perspective in how I want to kind of play my hands going forward when it comes to getting art for my own collection. You know, I think that there's a lot of opportunity when it comes to current artists and finding pieces that they're doing. It really excites me about the modern comic publishing market, where you know you can acquire some of these amazing pieces that are coming out for new comic books. You know, Daniel Warren Johnson's Transformers; those things sold incredibly well. Absolute Batman pages sold incredibly well when that comic book came out. And then it gives me more ideas in what art pieces to pick up for myself, which I'm not going to disclose in this video. That's what's so interesting. You know, comics collectibles, already opaque, but the art world, even more so, which is, I guess, part of the fun of it all. Anyways, that's all for this video. That was me just doing a quick recap of OAX Day 2. Now let's talk about the giveaway that we're going to do in this video. Again, it is a Hero Trade, the complete hardcover, written by Matt Kent, art by David LaFamme. Really, really cool black and white, beautiful book right here that I will be sending to you guys. And maybe I can add some other cool stuff when I create the package. But if you guys want to be entered to win this book right here, all you got to do is put somewhere in the comment section down below, bad idea. You know, this is published by Bad Idea. Dinesh was the one that picked up that art. Was buying that art a bad idea? I don't know. Maybe it was. $72,000 for some Jesco original art pieces. I mean, I'd do it. Bad Idea also has a Kickstarter going on, the Robert Vendetti and David LaFamme's Hank Howard Pizza Detective, same artist as the one that did this Hero Trade. If you guys want to support this project, you have 8 days left. But, you know, they're already killing it with their goal, 91,000, with only a pledge of 10,000. 8 days left to go. I'll put a link in the description if you guys would like to check out that project and support it. You know, pick up one of David's completed works right here. Put Bad Idea in the comment section down below. Anyways, that's all for this one. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. See y'all in the next art video.